So welcome to the Fruit Fly Choice Lab. This is a behavior lab where we give fruit flies a couple options of where to go. So what you're looking at right now is kind of the setup for this lab. This is just 2 water bottles where we cut off the bottoms and then tape them together. So we get this long chamber with caps at both ends. And what that does is it allows us to put different substances in them to test and see if the fruit flies show a preference for one substance or another. Right now, there are some fruit flies in there. They're all kind of clustered around down in quadrant 4. You can see we have this divided into 4 sections. And we're going to run a series of experiments today to test fruit fly preference for a couple of different substances. We're going to start with a control test. And so all I'm going to do to set up this first control test is I'm going to take a couple of just regular cotton balls like this. And I'm going to put a few drops of just plain old distilled water on there. And I'm putting about 1 dropper full on each, so they're about the same amount. And then with this choice chamber, I can put these cotton balls right into the ends of here. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tap the fruit flies away. They're all down at the other end. Oh, almost all. There, get them away from the end and put the cotton ball right into the end there. As we go through this is going to be our control test where we're just testing distilled water at both ends. After this, we will be trying some different types of vinegar. We're going to compare their response to rice vinegar and white balsamic vinegar. Those are 2 types I just happen to have at home. And then we will see if they show a preference for one or the other of those. But this is our control test just to make sure that there aren't any other factors affecting their behavior, like maybe the light levels or something else about the bottle itself. Hang on, I'm just trying to get them away from the cover so that I can switch this out without losing the flies. And each time we do this, this video is going to have some breaks in it because every time we do this, we have to give the fruit flies a little bit of time to kind of smell the smells that we are giving them and in a way make their decision about where they are going to go. So we're going to set this here. At the end of the 5 minutes, we need to let them set for about 5 minutes to give the fruit flies time to kind of move around and make their decisions, if you will. At the end of those 5 minutes, your task is going to be to count the fruit flies as accurately as you can. How many are in quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4 at the end of this 5-minute period. And because we have to sit for 5 minutes each time, I will kind of skip the video ahead. You don't have to sit here and watch them crawl around for 5 minutes, though you do want to kind of keep an eye on them and notice where they are. So we're going to give them some time here just to move around, and we will come back when that timer gets up to 5 minutes and collect some data on our control test, and then we'll set up the next couple rounds. All right, it has been 5 minutes. So count your data. I see 1 fruit fly in quadrant 1, 1 in quadrant 2, 3 of them in quadrant 3, and let's see, about 3, 6, 7, 8 in quadrant 4. Now we're going to start our next test. We're going to reset our timer. For the next trial here, I am going to replace one end of my choice chamber instead of the distilled water. I am going to put a cotton ball there with some rice vinegar. And I will send you a little bit of information about rice vinegar so that you know a little bit more about what this is and what's in here. So I'm going to replace the one down by quadrant 1 with rice vinegar. So I have to move this for a minute. I'm going to tap my little fruit flies away and swap out that cotton ball. There. So this end of my choice chamber now has rice vinegar. And again, we're going to give them 5 minutes to arrange themselves wherever they would like, to move towards that or away from it. And we will come back. I will jump the video ahead a little bit here in a minute. And we will come back and see where our fruit flies are hanging out in 5 minutes. All right, we're approaching 5 minutes right now. We have 2 in quadrant 1, 2 in quadrant 2, 3 in quadrant 3, and the rest, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 6. I think a couple just crawled back into 4 as I was counting. So we'll go with 6 in quadrant 4, maybe 7. You can run the numbers and see if that makes sense. So that was with rice vinegar on this end and distilled water on the other end. For our third trial here, we are going to put white balsamic vinegar on the other end. So now they have 2 different types of vinegar to choose from, and we will see if they show a preference here. And again, I have to just kind of tap my flies away from the end. Sorry if this video gets a little wonky here for a sec while I switch that sample. There, so now they have white balsamic vinegar at one end and rice vinegar at the other. The little Kleenexes under the ends are just so this doesn't roll away as you're trying to look at it. I'm trying to just keep it in one place for the camera. They are not actually tilting it or holding it up or anything like that. All right, so now we will start our timer again, and we will be back in a few minutes. All right, we're coming up on the 5-minute mark here. We're just going to have one final trial after this one. Wait just a second before we collect our data here. All right, at 5 minutes, I see 3 fruit flies in quadrant 1, 1 in quadrant 2, he's kind of under the tape, 0 in quadrant 3, and 3, 6, 9 in quadrant, 10 in quadrant 4. Sometimes the total number might change each time. It's not actually changing, obviously, unless I accidentally let one out in between, which does sometimes happen. But sometimes they're kind of lost either way in by the cotton ball or underneath something, and they're hard to count. So it's okay if our total number in each round is a little bit different. The important thing is just to note the distribution. So for the very last trial here, the combination that we haven't tried is we will leave the white balsamic vinegar, and we are going to test it with distilled water on the other end. So I'm going to replace this rice vinegar cotton ball here with one that just has distilled water on it. Oops, try not to break my choice chamber. All right. And then one final time here, I'm going to adjust my chamber a bit so it doesn't roll around. Come on, stand still. And then I will start the timer for a final 5 minutes. And then we will talk just briefly a little bit about what you're going to do with this data. And we'll wrap it up for today. Okay, we are approaching our final data collection point here on this last trial run for this one. So here we are at 5 minutes. We have 2 fruit flies in quadrant 1, 0 in quadrant 2, 3 in quadrant 3, and 9 in quadrant 4 that I can count. So as much as possible, I tried to put this choice chamber in a place that had equal light all the way across. I tried to keep it flat and level. I tried to make sure that my shadow was not falling on top of this so that none of those things were disrupting the behavior of these fruit flies. Today, I mainly want to spend some time thinking about the design of this experiment. There are some questions in this Edpuzzle for you about thinking about the independent variable and the dependent variable and what we held constant and all of those types of things. Tomorrow, you are going to learn a new statistical test to help us analyze this data and figure out whether they were actually hanging out at one end in a significant number or whether that was just due to random chance and where the fruit flies happened to be at the moment. So hang on to this data. We are going to be looking at that more a little bit as we continue to study animal behavior. And in this specific case, we were looking at chemotaxis, or movement in response to a chemical stimulus, a smell. So hang on to your data from this lab, and you can refer back to this Edpuzzle anytime you need for background information as you're trying to kind of wrap up and write up this lab over the next week or so. I hope you have a wonderful long weekend, and I will see you tomorrow.